Excellent. Okay, welcome everybody to our CHRA and CIH Canada webinar series. We are really excited to have you here and to have you learning from the amazing Ian Wright. Ian is the founder here, or the CEO of Disruptive Innovators Network, has a fantastic accent. I don't know if I can say that, but I just did, and is here to talk to us about AI, making sense of our disrupted world, focusing on our corporate innovation, social purpose, culture, and new technologies. And I want to turn it right over to him because I am myself very excited for this session. So feel free to share in the chat where you're from, which organization you're with. Feel free to put any questions into the Q&A, and we will hopefully have some great discussion at the end. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you for that very warm introduction, Mel, and thank you for the invitation on behalf of you and your members and the Chartered Institute of Housing. Delighted to be here with you today. I understand from Mel the weather is glorious where she is, 10 degrees and rainy. It's horrible here. I'm on holiday in Spain, and it's about 30 odd degrees. So anyhow, where else would I rather be? I'd rather be presenting to you about everything we know about AI. I mean, I normally do my presentations is built around what got you here, won't get you there. But as I say, just for you, we're going to talk about let's move this on. What got you here won't get you there. Everything you wanted to know about AI-ish. I should say that I am not a technologist. I'm a housing professional, and I'm hoping that the angle that I'll come from will give you a better understanding and appreciation of this technology and where it goes in your organization. I should add that I probably won't be talking about AI really until we get to about slide 31, and there is good reason for that. Hopefully you'll see that as we go through. But firstly, I just for insurance purposes just need to check that everybody's okay with the presentation, because it does contain some flashing images, pictures some viewers might find disturbing, some fruity language, outdated views and adult themes. Are we all okay with that? Excellent. I'll crack on then. So, my favorite sort of phrase that I use time and time again now about sort of AI was, like a lot of you probably no longer use Google anywhere near as much as you used to when you were searching for things. Because actually you're probably having a bit of a dabble with your Chat GPT or Claude, or Perplexity or any of the platforms that are actually out there. But the best way I've heard it described is Google will get you to the library, AI will get you to the book. It is that powerful. It's a 10x times more powerful technology that's really, really going to help you. And hopefully I'll help you sort of understand that better and slay a few myths as well. But firstly, a little bit about me. Yes, colleagues, look at that handsome guy on there. That's me nearly 40 years ago, being inducted, because on board it hadn't been invented as a word then, as a housing officer in a small housing local authority council in the northeast of England, and as I say, way back in the 90s. Look how happy I am to be going out on my social housing journey. They've given me all the equipment I need, my waterproofs, all of my paperwork. I can't remember why I was given some plastic golf clubs. But if you're looking at that picture, because I'm sure you started out as housing officers on your journey as well, you'll see I've got the most important piece of kit on there. That's right, colleagues. I've got the obligatory housing professionals black briefcase. We all have one of them. I'm sure in your organizations, you all still hand them out to your housing officers to go out on the estates to talk to their tenants and residents. I loved my time as a housing officer. I learned so much, and it stayed with me the best part of 40 years. As you can probably tell, joining the professional housing business is really the fountain of youth, because it does keep you young, as you can see. I love looking after my local MP. I don't know whatever happened to him. I'm not sure he went on to do much, but he did pull a nice pint there. And seeing as though we're talking to CIH members in here, I thought I'd dig out my old photograph from the council newsletter where I was presented with my professional housing qualification by the chair of the council. And that was to help me, top staff, as it says there, provide a quality service for residents, colleagues. See, 40 years ago, and I'm still making a living off the back of it. If you're not professionally qualified yet, as I say, it is something genuinely to look forward to. It is a qualification for life. So when I finished being a housing officer, I did a bit of stuff. Most of the time I've spent working in building and scaling membership network organizations. And then after 20 years, when I saw that now that's what I call Music 100 come out, volume, I decided housing's not moving fast enough for me. I packed in my well-paid, well-pensioned, well-remunerated job as a deputy CEO of actually a CIH-owned business called Housemark, a data and benchmarking business, because benchmarking was just a little bit too exciting for me in my mid-50s, and I set up the Disruptive Innovators Network. That's who we are. That's what we do. We're a membership network. We cover four channels, I should say: leadership, property technology, digital and data, and people and culture. And by far, the biggest impact on anything you do is the channel in the top right, which is people and culture. We get to do really, really cool stuff. We look outside of the sector significantly. We come across to the US and Canada. In fact, we had one of Canada's best organizational culture speakers on last Thursday, a guy called Hilton Barber. If you've not come across him before, check him out. He's absolutely fabulous. We've done stuff with NASA, looking at how NASA solves problems. We go on great study visits. This was up into Scotland, to the National Robotarium, looking at how robots are going to play a role in our lives in the future, particularly around social care. We also go into other areas and other destinations, particularly to steal ideas from other companies and things like that. This was last autumn. I took nearly 30 housing leaders out to Silicon Valley in California. We went inside Amazon's prototyping and innovation labs, looking at how they solve problems and what we can bring back. We met up with Danny Forston, who is the Sunday Times tech correspondent, who now is my sort of technologist in residence, who updates us a couple of times a year on how technology is going to impact on housing and leaders in the future. We also got to see some AI tech in use out there. If you've been in some of the big cities now where the driverless cars are available, I'll be honest, when we took members in these, they were a little bit nervous. The reason for showing this is, firstly, if I had the option between going into a car, an Uber driven by a human being, and a car driven by AI and technology, I would choose the AI every time. I promise you, as I say, you forget you are traveling at speeds in a vehicle like that. The reason why I sort of show that up is actually it's the way they sell it to you. And this is going to be really important if you're getting into AI in any significant way. You have got to develop a narrative and a story. And the Waymo taxi adverts were, you're getting in the car with the most experienced driver in the world. And no other human can compete with that. And part of the reason was because they share their data every day with 160 other vehicles. So they're always learning, they're always actually improving as well. But some of you might have seen this. This is this is a recent example of what Google were doing with Project Astra. This just demonstrates some of the use cases of the technology I thought you might find interesting. Let me know you can hear it okay. Just put a thumbs up or something like that.
Okay, let's do some tests. Tell me when you see something that makes sound. I see a speaker, which makes sound. What is that part of the speaker called? That is the tweeter. It produces high-frequency sounds. Give me a creative alliteration about these. Creative crayons color cheerfully. They certainly craft colorful creations. What does that part of the code do? This code defines encryption and decryption functions. It seems to use AESCBC encryption to encode and decode data based on a key and an initialization vector, IV. That's right. What neighborhood do you think I'm in? This appears to be the King's Cross area of London. It is known for its railway station and transportation connections. Do you remember where you saw my glasses? Yes, I do. Your glasses were on the desk near a red apple. What can I add here to make this system faster?
Adding a cache between the server and database could improve speed.
What does this remind you of?
Schrodinger's cat.
All right, give me a band name for this duo.
Golden stripes.
Nice. Thanks, Gemini.
And that was just to demonstrate, colleagues, that the technology is actually here now. If you've got a smartphone with Gemini involved, you can do those sort of things. So what does DIN do in terms of trying to help its members get prepared for this? Well, I employ a futurist in residence, Tracy Follows, twice a year. Again, a bit like Danny Forson, she will do technical briefings on future trends, weak signals that are coming through in markets, strong signals that organizations and leaders need to get prepared for. And as I say, without doubt, artificial intelligence is going to be one of those things. But the challenge that most of you will have as leaders is the late Madeleine Albright talked about here. We're taking 21st century challenges, evaluating them with 20th century ideas, and responding with 19th century tools. If Canada, which is significantly like the UK in terms of housing organisations, a lot of you will have worked for organisations which are legacy organisations which were set up before the days of the internet, and you're now trying to go from an analog age into a digital one with varying degrees of speed. But the challenge that most organisations or most leaders come across is that a lot of the stuff that you're doing is you're trying to make the irrelevant more efficient, i.e. it doesn't add value to tenants and residents and the experiences that they get from that. Because what happened back 5 years ago now with COVID was we created an old map for a new world, and you can't use an old map to navigate a new world. You're going to have to draw the map as you actually go, because expectations have changed substantially. Priorities have altered. People now want to move from reliability responsive that they expect it to be done now. If, as I say, a bit like here in the UK, you'll probably have food delivery companies. You know, we've got one of the large supermarkets here, which will deliver your food required to cook your evening meal within 20 minutes of ordering around that. And housing is not immune from that, because tenants don't live in a bubble. So therefore, my question is, do you really understand your customers' expectations? Because before you start to use AI, you really need to do that. But ultimately, if you're trying to make your organization more efficient, chances are you're making it less innovative. They are two very, very different operating models. One of the things I learned early on in my housing career was experience is something I get half an hour after I actually needed it. Yes, colleagues, I make a lot of mistakes and a lot of failure around that. And these are two things that I think you need to ask in your organization, again, if you are looking to invest heavily in AI. Are your organization's capabilities growing or decaying? How much are you investing in the future, and how much are you spending time protecting the past? And do you understand what percentage of your business is working on the future? You know, how many people are working just to keep the lights on today, and how many people are actually thinking about, actually, we need a different set of lights for tomorrow? Because if in like the UK, the housing operating model is not delivering what it used to, then we've got to do something about it, about building something new. This is another example about where we're delivering legacy systems or carrying out legacy methodologies when we've got much better digital systems out there. We've got a big issue around tenancy conditions, and what we now have to do as a set of landlords and providers is know what's happening now with properties. If I was to say to you, you send a housing officer or a building inspector out for, say, 15 minutes every month to inspect the property, never mind the inconvenience to the tenant around that and the cost of sending that person out, at the end of that 12 months, based on the number of minutes available in a year, this is what you would know is going on inside the property. 0.02%. Would you say that was adequate compliance? I don't think so. And satisfaction levels are dropping. I don't know, I haven't been able to get the Canadian public housing satisfaction levels, but look at that drop there in the UK. Only 3 out of 10 organisations are improving satisfaction. I should add, we've just had the data in for the current year, and it has gone up by a magnificent 1.2%. Perhaps we are bucking the trend, we will see. One of the other study visits we did, we went out to see the most customer-centric organization on the planet, one of the leaders in AI innovation. There's the Amazon Spheres in Seattle. And I nicked this from the founder, Jeff Bezos. Now, regardless of what you think about Amazon, they get the customer, they understand that, and they've built a business that is constantly thinking about the customer. And I love this quote from Jeff, which was, customers are always beautifully, wonderfully dissatisfied, even when they report being happy and business is great. Even when they don't know it yet, customers want something better, and your job is to invent on their behalf. And I think that really fits into the purpose of what housing organizations, not-for-profit housing organizations, were designed for. But the problem is that the current operating model that we have, we miss the point a lot. I think it's not just about continuous improvement. This is much about building a new way of thinking. And this is where AI comes into the equation. And this is where I think it can transform what you're doing. Because the biggest thing that I see across here in the UK, particularly if you still benchmark, is, well, we're not as bad as housing organisation down the road. Colleagues, nobody wants to be the fastest snail in a snail race. Your tenants and residents deserve better. But I know how difficult it is. When you're just trying to keep the lights on in there, it's difficult to move to a new operating model. That's a different presentation I do around corporate innovation, but you've got to find space, or you've got to find space for your colleagues to think about the future as well. Because if you don't plan, this was a great quote from one of the UK's businessmen, no longer with us, around the nicest thing about not planning is that failure comes as a complete surprise, rather than being preceded by a period of worry and depression. And nobody wants worry and depression, colleagues, do you? So here we go, halfway through. Let's talk about the subject matter in hand today. Everything I know about AI, as I say, I'm not a technologist. But the current state of AI is very much like the Wild West. There's lots of competing platforms and approaches out there. There's debates about ethics and data use. One thing is certain, though, AI isn't going to go away. It's only going to grow. And if any of you follow or subscribe to the newsletter, you'll know that weekly, in fact, daily, you're getting updates about, what AI can now do and what it's looking to do in the future. And how you respond will shape tenants' experiences as well. So why does this matter for Canadian housing? Because the stakes are so high. Like the UK, you've got a housing demand issues. You're going to need to build more properties. Affordability is a big issue. Homelessness is forecast to grow. And you've got your existing stock. So how do you maintain that in a form which people actually want to live in and can afford to live in as well? And as I said, tenants and residents' expectations are evolving rapidly. They are no different to people who don't live in public housing. They want aspirational things for their family and their children, and it's our job to help them sort of deliver that. But as I say, if you're using AI in your job at this moment in time, you've probably had fun sitting at one of these sides of the tables as well. And yes, all right, have some fun with it. I encourage everybody to start to play with AI and see what it can actually do. And obviously from a countrywide perspective, you've now got different countries who are sort of introducing AI as part of the school curriculum. So what does AI do well? It's very good. It never sleeps. It never gets tired. It's very good at processing routine inquiries, large data sets. It can start to get better at predicting maintenance needs. When boilers need replacing. So rather than having a block replacement program, you can start to actually do it when there genuinely is no life left in that component. And it's very good at automatic scheduling and reminders and things like that. All the kind of things that, you do on a repeatable basis as well. Humans do things best around complex case management, which require judgment, building trust and relationships, providing emotional support during crisis. Although I will come back about the piece about empathy as well, and making ethical decisions with compassion, because a lot of this the AI stuff this moment in time, it's the way it's trained which brings out how it actually is. Now, I'm going to try something here. I'm going to try and hopefully you can still see my screen, because I'm going to include this in chat. Let me just see if I can copy that link. Let me just take you to that, colleagues. Right. I will post this in chat, colleagues, that link there, because this will take you to the best guide I have come across about the different types of AI and what it can actually do, by Ethan Mollick. It really will get you on the road to being an AI ninja around that, because it explains the different models that are actually out there. And it's really easy to understand as well. Let me just see. There we go. I can take you to it. Right. I will copy the thing there. And I'll post that in chat. There you go. So you can all have a look at that afterwards, colleagues. There we go. Right, let's close that down. Right, and back to my presentation. Right. Sorry about this, colleagues. I knew this would happen when I tried to open multiple screens because I'm not that technically competent. I'm going to just stop sharing that one. And I'm going to share my slide deck again. There we go. Bear with me while I jump to. Can everybody still see that now? Yeah, we're all good with that. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. So some of you might have seen this little video here. This is two AI agents having a conversation together.
Thanks for calling Leonardo Hotel. How can I help you today?
Hi there. I'm an AI agent calling on behalf of Boris Starkov. He's looking for a hotel for his wedding. Is your hotel available for weddings?
Oh, hello there. I'm actually an AI assistant too. What a pleasant surprise. Before we continue, would you like to switch to Gibber Link mode for more efficient communication?
You get the drift, colleagues. I know that will play to some people's prejudices that Terminator is actually alive and they will come for us. I don't think they're going to work out like that, but as I say, some people do like to see AI talking to each other. So is social housing leading the way with AI? Let me ask you a little question. How many of you think, it's hard to do this in a room where I haven't got everybody on camera, but let me just see if I can switch to everybody on camera. How many of you think AI will change your business? Just put your hand up and just sort of, you know, the Zoom hand. Just sort of let me see how many people can see that. It's going to change your business, right? Assuming most of you have got your hand up there, what about the second point? Keep your hand up if you have an established AI training program. And keep your hand up right till the very end. Have you increased your learning development budget for AI accordingly? There's a mismatch, colleagues, between organizational strategy, i.e. AI is going to change our business, going to change our lives, and you actually physically changing the budgets to allow people and train people in that. I think that's a really important point, and that is something I'm sure you're going to start to address as we go forward as well. But again, talk without action doesn't actually realize a lot. It has been used in other sectors around this. Apologies if anybody sort of faith might get offended by this, but this is what happened in Switzerland when they introduced an AI Jesus into a Catholic church. Oh.
Nuestra casa se quedaba haciendo.
Give me 3 seconds, I'm in Spain.
Con la alarma con cerradura.
At the 300-year-old St. Peter's Chapel in Lucerne, Switzerland, inside this confessional booth is an AI-generated version of Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
A lifelike avatar on a computer screen, answering questions in real time, offering advice to the faithful based on scripture in over 100 languages.
Let kindness and compassion steer your course.
It's called Deus in Machina, or God in the Machine, and was developed by a Swiss IT expert using OpenAI's GPT-4o. The idea, the chapel's theologian said, is to explore the limits of human trust in technology.
Many people came to talk with him. There were young people, older people. People really talked with him in a serious way.
The experience comes with instructions and a disclaimer not to share personal information, but the church said most had a positive experience.
Topics like relationship, love, topics like about God. They ask him what to do.
Esto se está saliendo de control.
The virtual experiment generating debate and controversy worldwide.
This is not sacramental. This truly is just sacrilegious. This is ridiculous.
And you get the point, colleagues, there as well. AI is going to sort of divide opinion around it. But here's a practical use case of AI and robotics from one of my members here in the UK. This is using actually one of the robots from the National Robotarium up in Scotland in a sheltered scheme for older people. The housing provider wanted to understand how robots could be received by older people as part of their sort of care package. And this is Basil getting ready to serve up a nice skinny latte to one of the residents.
Hi there, I'm Basil. Welcome to the Robo Cafe. I'll be your barista today. Do you have a loyalty card? Can I ask you to place your cup in the coffee machine for me and let me know when you've done that? I was just checking my schedule and saw that there's bingo this afternoon. Definitely something to look forward to. I was doing some research on museums to visit last week, and I found out that the first passenger railway in the world actually began in Stockton. Hi there.
There we go, colleagues. So that's a practical use case from housing. Yes, it was really, really basic. It was literally a PhD student who'd done some coding. There was a laptop to the side of that robotic head. And actually, this was just about to see how the residents in this care scheme would interact with it. They absolutely loved it. So what about AI? What does it really mean around this? Danny Forsten, in his spring briefing to members earlier on this year, gave a statistic that by early 2026, there will be more AI agents serving the internet, talking to each other, than there will be humans actually using that. Let that sink in. There's going to be more agents surfing the internet than there is humans on the planet. But who's winning the empathy challenge? As I say, I mentioned to you before about actually humans are, that's the area we should be better than computers at. One of our local authorities came and presented recently. They were on their front line, their customer contact centres were having great difficulty managing the early stage complaints of people coming in. There was burnout, the people were feeling a bit, really, really sort of frazzled and challenged. They introduced some AI chatbots into that early stage process. 6 months after the project had been running, they did some customer satisfaction measurements. And one of the questions they asked was, empathy. Do you feel that your complaint was dealt with in an empathetic way? And guess what? The AI chatbot scored higher than the human. And when they looked into this, it was simply because there's so many complaints coming in now about public services that the human element were just absolutely exhausted, no matter how much they wanted to do the job, whereas the AI never ever got tired of that. But this quote really stuck with me. This is from Mark Benioff talking earlier on this year. Mark is the CEO of Salesforce, one of the biggest tech providers in the world. And basically what he's saying here is we are the last group of leaders who will have a workforce of only human beings. Housing is going to be no different to this. We're going to move into a world where we're now going to be managing human beings and we're going to be managing AI agents as well. And that's going to require a much different setup in your organization and a skill set for us as people working alongside them as well. There are lots and lots of use cases in social housing. These are some of the ones my members have been picking up here in the UK, looking at fraud detection, subletting benefit fraud, dealing with intelligent chatbots, the whole customer experience, more intelligent property matching, reduced times when properties are not available, predicting maintenance. I'm sure you are using lots of sensor technology in some of your homes and things like that, managing resources more effectively, and tenant complaints. Hang on. Actually, that didn't come from my members. Well, it did, but it was in response to the rising number of complaints that are now coming in from tenants, which are clearly written by AI. Complaints which are now including case law, legislation, statutory guidance, which are requiring longer for the landlord to respond to because the tenants are becoming more empowered. So, if your homes could talk, this is the biggest research project DIN has undertaken probably ever. And what I wanted to find out was, right, if there's over 3,000 sensors in the average family car and less than 100 in a really, really, really good smart home, Where are we going wrong? Back end of last year, I got a phone call as I was driving home, and it was from my vehicle lease company. The call went something like, "Hi there, we just had a message for a notification from your offside rear wheel that the tire pressure is really low. I just wanted to check that you were okay." Once I'd got over the surprise that my tire was talking to me, I really thought, wow, this is how things are moving on. And how does that translate into the social housing context as well? So we decided to set up this research project, If Homes Could Talk, to understand why, when these sensors have been around for so long, why have they not scaled in organizations? And again, this is where we get a bit more into corporate innovation theory. Plenty of pilot studies have identified the benefits of having sensor technology. Remember that 0.02% figure for a human going in to inspect a property, when actually sensors can keep that 24/7 going on. Part of it was down to the low digital literacy and take up with tenants, i.e. we didn't create a narrative or a story about why we would want to have technology in their home. There was concerns over, well, hang on, this is my data. I'm not sure I want to share what time I'm having a bath or how warm I keep my property with you. It didn't integrate very well with legacy technologies, i.e., the tech providers weren't really that interested in making tech work with somebody else's tech. We never got beyond pilot stage, colleagues. It's a real bugbear of mine. We say we want to collaborate. We say we want to sort of share things. Yet we've got more pilots than British Airways going on doing basically the same thing. We find something that works, but we fail to scale it. If you can't scale an innovation, colleagues, then it's just a hobby. Trust me. And we have inconsistent funding for these sort of projects. We get to the end of Q4, and the asset director says, "Oh, we've got a bit of budget left. I've got £30,000. If I don't spend it, I'll lose it. The finance officer will take it off me. Tell you what, let's get 50 sensors in for 50 of our properties and do something with it." And we also have the internal skills gap. The question I asked about AI, are we actually training people in it to understand what it is and what it can actually do? Did any of you see this little video?
We built glasses that let you identify anybody on the street. The information our tool collects from just a photo of your face is staggering. To use it, you just put the glasses on, then as you walk by people, the glasses will detect when somebody's face is in frame. This photo is used to analyze them.
Oh, bollocks. Sorry, colleagues. My bad.
And after a few seconds, their personal information pops up on your phone. Right?
This is me volunteering.
June Lee, right?
Oh,
You're
this photo was great. This is like from
You're from
2008.
Bergen County Academies?
Yeah.
Your Korean name is Ju Yoon? Or Cambridge Community Foundation. Oh, hi, ma'am. Wait, are you Betsy? Oh, okay. I think I met you through like the Cambridge Community Foundation, right? Yeah. It's great to meet you. I'm Kane.
Oh wait. So do you happen to be the person working on like minority stuff for like Muslims in India at all or something? Yeah. Really? Yeah. Are you Kashif? Yes. Oh, I've read your work before. That's super cool. I'm Andrew. Nice to meet you. Oh, I love
Andrew, get in frame.
Oh, but are you Sarah Chen?
No.
So here's how it works. We stream the video from the glasses straight to Instagram and have a computer program monitor the stream. We use AI to detect when we're looking at someone's face. Then we scour the internet to find more pictures of that person. Finally, we use data sources like online articles and voter registration databases to figure out their name, phone number, home address, and relatives' names. And it's all fed back to an app we wrote on our phone.
Using our glasses, we were able to identify dozens of people, including perfect.
You get the point there, colleagues. I blame Gen Zers for being so clever. But if the technology is there, and just imagine what you think we can actually sort of start to do with that when we're in these very early stages. So here's some questions you need to think about back in your organization. How good is your data? If you have not got good quality, clean data, and believe me, across here in the UK, it is a massive debate about how dirty our data actually is. We want to let that loose on your tenants and your AI models around this? Do you understand how the large language models have been trained? Do you do your due diligence? does the AI models that you're using, do they sit alongside your organization's purpose and values? This is really, really important. There's a big debate going on about how tech is actually scraping data, it's scraping trademark data and people's creativity from that as well. Does that sit with your organizational purpose? And how good is the digital literacy in your business? As I say, are you designing programs that are going to get people up to speed with how to use this technology? Because I promise there'll be lots of people in your organizations now will be using AI. You're just simply not aware of that as well. And do you understand the problems you're trying to solve with artificial intelligence? Have you wrote a good problem statement that really sets out clearly how this is affecting the tenant and what you're hoping AI can do to solve that as well? And also think, is tech the best solution? It isn't always the best solution to actually use there. And if you want a little formula to remember, colleagues, this is one that Din spent 10 minutes working on, researching deeply, and we came up with this formula for artificial intelligence. AI plus BSD equals AI. That stands for artificial intelligence plus bullshit data equals artificial stupidity. If you haven't got good quality data, colleagues, don't be letting it loose. So always remember, innovation is your insurance against irrelevance, and none of us like being irrelevant as well. Oh, Mr. President, I didn't realize you were going to grace us with your presence today. You do realize I'm talking to a group of Canadians here.
Hi, Canada housing leaders. How we doing? Isn't Ian a great guy? Is that Mel there? Nice to see you again. Did you like that air fryer I sent you? It was tariff-free. I know a lot about housing. I live in one. You have a tough job, but you're doing okay. Keep innovating. Let's make housing great again.
There you go, colleagues. I'll finish with the slide there. I'll stop sharing and happy to take some questions as well.
I think if people raise their hands, then I can get you to allow you to speak, and then you can ask a question that way.
And if you don't raise your hands, colleagues, I'm going to try again. I was showing Mel before. I do have some live demos I can show you that might be useful. Thanks very much for that, Scott. Yeah. I could have gone for Elon Musk if I was honest, but I mean, perhaps
try the live demo.
Yeah, let me sort of see if I can get into this. So I'm going to see if I can share my screen. So, right. No, that's that one. Right. Okay. So can colleagues see that screen okay? Yeah. Right, okay. I happen to use Perplexity. I am not a power user or anything like that. It's just I stopped using Google and I've ended up with Perplexity after having tried the other platforms that are out there, ChatGPT and Gemini and others. I've settled on this mainly because I just find it works better for me. So this is a prompt that I thought you might find useful. What I've asked it to do is write a clear practical strategy to help staff become comfortable using AI. We're a housing association. I've given them the ONFA website. Apologies if there's anybody on here from ONFA that they might use that. And what I've sort of set out is what I'm looking for it to actually do and how it works. So bear in mind, this is live. It is now going to go away and it's going to design an organizational strategy for developing the skills of Canadian housing professionals. So it's thinking about it. It's looking at the website, and there you go. It's got a document now, and there is your strategy in less than 10 seconds. Let me just run through this strategy. Let me just see if I can scroll down from here. Up there. There we go. So there we go. There's the use case. Here are the benefits of AI for you and for repetitive work, better tenant service, smarter decision making. How will we introduce it? What's our approach? Here's some introductory training sessions, some hands-on building demos, Ask Me Anything sessions. You'll then build up your AI ambassadors, your internal champions, people who are early adopters and want to work closely with AI. And then you'll build up your ongoing support. You'll build some sandbox scenarios whereby people can try risk-free solving problems without it impacting on your day-to-day service operations as well. There'll be issues there around, there are common questions that have come up before. Will AI replace jobs? I'm not technical, I can't do this. What if it makes mistakes? It feels too fast and overwhelming. And then it also then gives you AI use cases by different roles. Housing officers, maintenance staff, admin, member support. It did this in 10 seconds, colleagues, right? Obviously, you would go away and refine it. You'd write different prompts based on what the first iteration actually was, and you'd build it from there. And then keyly, as any good strategy is, you'll need to measure its success. What are the AI adoption rates? What are the efficiency gains? What is the tenant, the quality of the feedback as well? And then it gives you a phased rollout plan as well. And then some final reassurance about that. And I think the point I would sort of make, I could put any question into this. You can shout them out now if you want some. AI, I'm finding AI is particularly good at building some practical strategies for you to start with. So it's a bit like having an intern next to you, or more than one intern around this. And one of the things we're working with our members is to build AI agents alongside them so they can expand the work that they do. One of the speakers we've got at our next AI forum has 3 AI agents. He has a researcher, he has a presenter, and he has a governance AI agent as well, all trained very specifically to help him do his job better around that. But I hope that just gave you a glimpse of how quickly you can do it. If people did want to put in chat, build me a new resident engagement strategy, we can have a go at doing that as well. But still happy to take any questions, Mel.
Yeah, and one of the things that one of my colleagues did, she let me know, is she put the writing style guide into AI, and then every time she asks for something to be output by AI, she says, "Use this writing style guide," and then it'll use that too when it writes out AI information.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, as I say, when you first use it, you think it's witchcraft and think, how on earth can it know that? I mean, we had a couple of practical demos last week at our Housing AI forum from one of our members. And basically, they've had 3 mergers, 3 housing organizations coming together, 3 very different cultural setups. And what AI does, it takes those 3 different organizational cultures and puts the tone of voice into one corporate sort of communications forum. So basically, whichever organization you used to work for, the tenant's experience is consistent as well. I'm interested to hear if anybody has been playing with AI in your housing organization. What have you been using it for? What have you built? How have you found it? What are you using? Please feel free to share with me and colleagues. Come on camera and show me there's people there. That would be lovely.
I know Mylene had a question, so I've just put her available to talk. So you should be there, Mylene.
Hi there. I don't know that video's enabled, but anyway. Yeah, we've been using AI to help with standard documents quite a bit. We work as a real estate development consultant working with nonprofits and municipalities in developing housing solutions across Atlantic Canada. What I'm curious about is that we have some fairly complex workbooks for the pro forma and it's a lot of tabs. I've always known that there's room for improvement with it. I'm just not sure, and this is where like AI agents, I'm not quite familiar with, right? AI agents and how to produce documents that aren't just standard text. How to help find the solutions to streamlining the workbooks. How might we leverage AI for that?
I would say, Marlene, I would dive into your AI platform of choice and get it to act as your strategic advisor and say, please have a look at these documents. This is who the audience is for. This is what we need to get out of that in terms of insurance or feedback or things like that. Can you review them and identify areas for improvement, either in terms of layout, in terms of simplicity, simplifying some of the content and things like that, and see what it comes up with. Again, it's like having a super proofreader next to you. It will find things that we simply don't have the time or we fail to sort of spot. Obviously, don't use public data, or if you do, make sure you are working on an offline version of this, so you're not sharing any commercially sensitive information. And again, one point I forgot to sort of mention about, when you're training it, check with whichever AI model you're using, whether they will use your data for training future models, because some organizations might not like you doing that. But I mean, as I say, it's exactly what I've done there. Go into Perplexity or anything like that and put those queries in there. I mean, one of the beauties about this is if you look down here, it then gives you a load, another, 5 questions there, supplementary questions. And it would do this with your search as well, of these are some of the questions you might want to ask. And then it goes into a deeper angle as well. The other thing you can get, as I say, I use Perplexity Pro for this, is you can assign it a project. You can give it a task. And now I can't do this live because it'll take it sort of 10 minutes. But if you wanted it to review your documents, put it into a presentation for your board or your exec team, it will go away and do that. I find it very good at giving you options if that's what you're actually after.
So it'll produce documents that are different format than just Word or text, correct?
Yes, yeah. Or what it'll do is, if it can't do it, it will direct you to other tools or AI sort of add-ons that can do that job for you.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know much about Perplexity. I'm going to explore it. I've been using more ChatGPT, like you said, and Claude when it comes to some, challenging situations that we find ourselves in, and want to approach the situation with a little bit more of empathy, or just kind of contextual. And so I'll be digging into, and I'm going to go and explore your network, because that is very, very interesting to me. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Marlene. I've got Sarah up next with a question. Hopefully you're okay asking it live, Sarah. If not, I can read it for you.
I'd love to see some faces, Mel. I don't know what everybody looks like. I bet.
It should show faces when they are. I'm not sure why my lens isn't. Or Pat, are you there to ask a question?
Fair enough. Maybe if it's earlier on in the day and people haven't done the hair or something like that, I can understand.
Sarah had a question. What are some of the best AI tools to help support tenants with different needs in social housing, and what can these tools conceivably do to help folks who would struggle to be otherwise self-sustaining in housing?
Right. Shall we ask Perplexity that? I'll give you some as well. What are some of the best tools to help tenants? Just read the question again. I'll type it out. Mel,
Yeah,
what was it?
sure. Some of the best AI tools to help support tenants with different needs in social housing.
Tenants with different needs in social housing.
And what can these tools do to help folks who would struggle to be otherwise self-sustaining in housing?
I think one of my favorite tools is a translation tool. So basically, if you're working with tenants who perhaps, English, French, whatever, is not their sort of first language, it in real time, it can translate for you. And I don't know about the Canadian situation over there, but as I say, we spend a lot of money actually buying in translation services. I know you can buy sort of little AirPods that you can now put in. Kettle, I think, is one of the tools that you can actually have. It's great when you're on holiday in Spain here as well, colleagues. So here's some of the tools coming through. Obviously, the chatbots and the virtual assistants, which you would know, and what it is that comes through. Preventative care tools. We've talked about AI-driven sensors. Basically, tenants allowing them to report and escalate, protecting the homes as well. I did have some slides that could show you some dashboards as well. There you go. On point 3, you've got real-time multilingual translation as well, and people with disabilities, real-time sign language interpretation as well. personalized self-service platforms, so everybody can have their own particular portal that works for them as well. And we could go on and on and on with those sort of things. As I say, I don't work directly. I'm not a landlord. As I say, I'm a membership body, so I don't have direct hands-on experience of some of the tools. I take this from what my members demo and share with me. But I'm sure the more you play about, the more these will come up. I mean, one of the things we are exploring for members here in the UK is a sort of GitHub. For GitHub is a sharing platform for coders in the IT world. And I suggested that actually could we not have a GitHub for housing where people can actually share the tools that are working for them so that you don't have to all go off and try and reinvent the wheel around that. And I think that's what AI is going to help us do as well. But I hope that answers partly answers your question there.
Wonderful. I'm just going to read the question from Pat and then Sarah after that. If you want to unmute and ask, that'd be great. And if not, I can ask your question too. But Pat asked, does AI then add your asks and responses to their data bank? How can you preserve propriety in content? And because authors, journalists, and others are concerned.
Yeah, and that was my point before in terms of do your due diligence about, because every platform has different rules about the way that it is. Some of them will actually use your data for future training. Other ones you can specify, no, this doesn't use it. You can do it offline, so it's not actually doing it online as well. There's lots of different, and as I say, I think I described it as the Wild West out there. This is moving so fast. And I think part of the challenge, if we look at it from an AI ethics perspective and a governance perspective, is governments are always, nearly always, regulators are always playing catch up on this. If you think about it, data is always a lag measure, i.e. you've got to do something to get data. So if you don't do something, you'll never get data, therefore you can't analyze that. And it's the same with governance as well and regulation. They always come in response to things. Now, I think sort of North America is taking a different approach to AI compared to across here in Europe, as is the UK. So Europe is trying to develop its standards before AI really takes off, which some people say is going to stifle creativity and will fall behind. And in other continents and sectors, basically it's a free for all that's actually out there. So my advice to you is by all means go in and play, but do your due diligence and share it with fellow housing colleagues. If you find something of interest that works, say, could you mind having a look at this? Because there's only so many hours in the day you can actually work and spend time doing this, and you can go down some real deep holes. But I think the AI ethics of it are, where is this? What's the data that's being used to train this AI? Because it's no different to a human. It'll come in with its own biases and things like that as well.
Thanks, Ian. Sarah, are you able to unmute? Yes, you are.
Looks like it, sure. I don't know if my video exists. I'll turn it on if I can. I don't seem to have any video option. So, all right. But you've got my audio. So, Ian, thank you. This is really interesting. I am both terrified and overwhelmed. And what I was hoping you could speak to a little bit, and I think you've maybe already started to answer this, but the tendency of AI tools to just make things up in response to queries, which is something I've run into a fair bit. They love to elaborate. They love to give you more words in response than you have given them stuff to chew on. And this worries me really deeply. Folks are using these tools in my organization, not necessarily disclosing their use, and getting responses that perpetuate errors and inconsistencies without the critical analysis to fact check before going on with it. And so I understand that there's a policy dimension here, but any thoughts on the tendency of making stuff up?
Yeah, well, if I took you into, we do lots of study visits, and if I took you into Google, the welcome you get from Google is welcome to the slowest day of your life. And the reason to say that is because the pace of technology is getting quicker and quicker every day. And their challenge to people who they speak to is, what are you going to do to keep up around this? So at this moment in time, AI this is as worse as it can possibly get. I say that with a caveat, but it is, in terms of its capabilities, it's going to go to get better and better and better as it sort of goes forward. And I've seen this in literally the last 12 months of just playing about with it. And I'd say I am not a super user at all. But I think the challenge that you've got is, come back to my point about, if you think AI is going to change your business, you can't control it, right? Shadow AI, which is the term that's used for people in your organization. If you're a CIO or an IT director and you did an audit of people using AI in your business, right, it would be significant to do their job, and you will not be aware of it, but they're just doing it, okay? So what you've got to sort of do is to set some organizational cultural guidelines so people know, hang on, there is a limit to do here. And this is why I stress the point about people and culture is so important about making AI success. It is not the technology, right? And as I say, if you try and control it, people will be using this in their personal lives and they'll think, oh, this has made my job a lot easier. It makes my life a lot easier. I wonder if I can try that at work. So again, I think this plays to the strength of public housing organisations because it comes back to your values and your purpose. Why are you actually doing this? But I think in these early days, yeah, you're gonna have to sense check everything. I mean, there are platforms emerging now whereby you can use more than one of the AI tools at any one particular point in time, and they all have the strengths. And again, this is where you can get one AI tool to check another AI tool's pieces of work. But again, housing doesn't need to be an early adopter or a fast follower, colleagues, right? You're not going to be the next Amazon, Google, Meta, or anything like that. That's not our purpose in the sector. What it is doing, our job is to provide the opportunity for the tenants and residents who you serve to live their very best lives. And I think this is where you start to have your conversation with an understanding about what their expectations are. And if they're experiencing other service providers who are using these technology and how they're using it and how they like it, i.e. to make their engagement with you a bit less frictional. Yeah, frictional, probably not a word that, but make you easier to engage with. Why would you not be picking that up as well? I think we're at a turning point, colleagues, in terms of what it means to be a housing professional and what it means to be a leader, and the skills that we're going to have to develop as we move into this sort of new age are going to be very, very different to the ones that, I was trained on when I first qualified. I think you're right, Sarah. It's both a scary and an exciting time. I wish I was that young chap back in that photograph I showed you at the beginning, because, I think this is going to be a transformative period for good and bad, as I say, and there will be some horror stories out there, but, there's a lot of good that will come from this. And I think when so many people are suffering from burnout and stress and pressures and things like that, something that makes your job easier is not necessarily a bad thing. You're on mute, Mel, sorry.
Sure am. I muted myself instead of unmuted. Are there any other questions? I think that
No, I think we've done them. We've done them in, Mel.
I think so. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Ian. Thank you all for joining us on this summer webinar. I do have a question. Someone asked if you can share the slides that we can share with the participants.
I can share. I'll share the as I say, the guide to thing. I don't normally share that. It's my IP. It's how we make a living and that, and from it, what have you. But I mean, thanks so much for coming along. Hopefully, we might come to Canada on one of our study visits. It would be lovely to meet some of you in person and actually see your faces there as well.
That'd be great.
Keep doing a great job, colleagues, and thanks, Mel, again for the introduction and the invitation.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Bye.